Former President Barack Obama has taken time out of his busy schedule of hanging out with Bruce Springsteen and Jay-Z and his Netflix, deal on being the coolest president that we've ever had. He took time out of his busy schedule at his mansion in Martha's Vineyard to give a tongue lashing to the Democratic Party, telling them to toughen up. We got a interesting article here. His blunt message to the Democrats: toughen up. Former President Barack Obama issued a call of action for Democrats in a private fundraiser. He's out there raising money, doing his thing, in New Jersey on Friday, urging those frustrated by the state of the country under President Donald Trump to stand up for the things that you think are right. I think it's going to require a little bit less nasal gaving. Yeah, man, this guy right here who has come out twice in this entire year to speak up, a little less navel gazing, huh? Look, I chastise the Democratic Party with the best of them, but this guy who is like, well, there's only one president at a time, and right now it's Donald Trump, so I really can't get involved. Besides, I'm up here with Michelle, and we're hanging out with Jay-Z and Beyonce, so we got other things to do. Y'all need to figure it out. Quote, I think it's going to require a little less navel gazing and a little less whining and being in fetal positions. And it's going to require Democrats to just toughen up. According, he said at the fundraiser, according to experts of his, excerpts of his remarks exclusively obtained by CNN. Quote, don't tell me you're a Democrat, but you're kind of disappointing right now. So you're not doing anything. Now is exactly the time where you need to, get in there, do something. Don't say that you care deeply about free speech and then you're quiet and stuff. Now you stand up for free speech when it's hard. If somebody says something that you don't like, but they say, you know what, that person has a right to speak. What's needed now is courage. Obama's comments come as the Democratic Party searches for its path forward. I don't know, man. Maybe stand up and fight fascism. Go out there and tell your base, hey, man, when we get this polecat out of the White House, I'm going to give you Medicare for all. I'm going to bring down the cost of groceries and rent. I'm going to give you some free fucking education, college education. I'm going to raise your goddamn wages. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm just spitballing over here. The little things. In his second term, Trump and beyond, many in the party's base have called for a more forceful response from Democratic leaders at a time when the party is locked out of power. As Democrats debate who should lead the party, certainly not Zoran Mamdani or Bernie Sanders or AOC. No. Those are radical leftists, man. They want to give you health care. They're just way out there. They're too far gone, man. We need something in the middle. Let's compromise with the fascists. That sounds like a great fucking idea. Stop looking for quick fixes. Quote, stop looking for the Messiah. You have great candidates running races right now. Support those candidates. He didn't say Mamdani, but he should have, calling out the New Jersey and Virginia elections according to the excerpts of his remarks. Make sure that the DNC has what it needs to compete. That's funny coming from him, considering the fact that when he took office, he had a super majority in the Senate. 60 senators, a super majority, and he controlled the House. By the way, did he codify Roe versus Wade? No, he did not. Did he give us Medicare for all? No, he did a compromise of a compromise and gave us, Obamacare, which is basically just still the same goddamn thing. Healthcare for profit, but it was a baby step in the hopes that we would have another baby step. But now with the big beautiful bill, the ACA is fucked. They've successfully done it. The Republicans have killed the Affordable Care Act. So Obama and your legacy, man, it's over. It's over. The ACA is a done deal. It's over. Prices are going to be skyrocketing next month in August. Prices are going to go up 15 to 20%. That's just the beginning. You know, when all of the Medicaid cuts actually kick in 2028, and the Medicare, you know, with PAYGO taking a chop at the knees, Medicare is going to get a hit, you know. But yeah, your legacy, man. Sorry, I get a little pissed off about. I know everybody still loves Barack Obama. I would give him a C+ as a president. He could have done more, a shitload more. But, you know, legacy, right? Obama spoke at a private fundraiser hosted by New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and his wife, Tammy Murphy, at their home in Red Bank, New Jersey. The intimate dinner drew 2.5 million. So they got plenty of money. 2.5 million through in-person and online donations for the Democratic National Committee. A source familiar with the event said a portion of the haul would be allocated to Democrat efforts in the governor's race in New Jersey. The Democrat nominee, Mickey Sherrill, and DNC chair Ken Martin were on hand for the event. Obama described Sherrill and former Rep. Abigail Spanberger, the Democratic nominee for governor of Virginia, as powerful spokesperson. Man, they're centrist Dems. Just centrist fucking Dems. Neither one of those people. I'm not 100% sure about Sherrill, but if he's including that person with Abigail Spanberger, they're both centrist then. Powerful spokesperson for a pragmatic, common sense desire to help people who both have remarkable track records of service. The most important thing you can do right now is to help the team, our candidate, to win. And we've got to start building up our coffers in the DNC. Got to raise that money. Honey, fucking Kamala Harris had plenty of money. But she told the American people that she would do nothing different than Joe Biden. She sidelined the Palestinian representative in Georgia at the DNC and told her, you know, kick rocks. You're not allowed to speak. She sidelined her best weapon in Tim Walz. She stopped talking about stuff that excited her base. She let Joe Biden's election team get in and infect the whole thing. And she became a milquetoast candidate. Don't get me started on, you know, whether or not there was some fishy shit going on in the election. You know, I'm not going to get off on that tangent, but she lost. The problem is that if she had stayed a good candidate, like when Joe Biden first picked her to take his place, she came out of the gate hot, man. She was exciting. You know, she was talking about bringing down the cost of food and blocking the price gouging at the grocery store. You know, she was talking about public housing. We have a housing crisis right now. We have 700,000 homeless people in this country, not to mention all of the homeless people that are living in their cars, but they don't get counted because they're not in homeless shelters. But I mean, she was out of the gate strong. They were laughing. They were joyful. They were making fun of J.D. Vance having sex with couches. They were having a good time. But you know, after about 3 weeks of that, they started to calm down. They stopped calling the Republican Party weird. They became very milquetoast. Then she went on The View and said, you know, is there anything that you would do different than Joe Biden? She goes, well, I can't really think of anything right now. Meanwhile, the genocide in Gaza was going on. You could have said something, anything. No. We need pragmatic, according to Barack Obama. We need pragmatic, common sense desire to help people. Get the fuck out of here. Obama also argued that Democrats need to focus on how to deliver for the people, acknowledging the different views within the party about how to do that. There's been, I gather, some argument between the left of the party and the people who are promoting. Look, honey, the American people, the base, the Democratic base, they're all on the left. Every protest that I've gone to, it's got all kinds. It's the Rainbow Coalition out there. But there are so many like 50, 60-year-old Y moms out there wearing Free Luigi t-shirts, Medicare for all banners. They're all on board for the left proposition. But y'all shut them down. Barack Obama shuts down the left. He doesn't want anybody speaking that's more left than him, which is why he doesn't mention Mamdani in this, or AOC, or Bernie. By the way, he fucked Bernie in 2020. He made the phone call. Got Pete Buttigieg to drop out. Got Amy Klobuchar to drop out. And everybody got behind Biden. Only person that didn't drop out was Elizabeth Warren, and she helped in the process of fucking Bernie too. Sorry, I digress. Quote, I don't care how much you love working people, they can't afford a house because of all of the rules in your state make it prohibitive to build. Oh my God. Barack Obama, he is an abundance guy. We need to get rid of rules and regulations. Yeah, man. Just like the Republicans are always talking about, we need to get rid of those rules and regulations. That is not the problem. You could have reinstated the Fair Cloth Amendment, man. We could actually do government funding. We spend 4 times as much jailing people than we do building houses. 4 times as much. Is that working class? Is that middle class? Is that helping out the regular guy? We spend 4 times as much locking people up than we do building a house for them. There's so many things that we could do, and it's got nothing to do with getting rid of regulations on building houses. If you build houses in a floodplain, like in the 9th Ward of New Orleans, then they all get washed away in the first hurricane. There's a reason why you have certain regulations when it comes to building. But no, we gotta get rid of those pesky regulations. This is the one thing that I agree with the Republicans on. We gotta get rid of that stuff so we can build a house on the sand. That way, when the waves come, little piggy gets washed out into the ocean. That's a great idea. Sounds genius. Get to work on that, Michelle. Get to work on that. And zoning prevents multifamily structures because of NIMBY. It ain't just NIMBY, dog. It ain't NIMBY. Look, there's no secret why the poorest people live in the crappiest houses, most vulnerable to climate change and, to natural disasters. Because nobody else is going to live there. But if you build houses without regulation, might house them for a little while until something dastardly happens. Like a regulation on, something as simple as, having the proper HVAC system in the building. Meanwhile, you don't put any of that stuff in, and then 10 years down the road, all of those people in that decrepit housing, they all have asthma problems now. Because you built it by an interstate and you didn't do any regulatory, stuff on making sure that the building had some air purifier in it. And then you're going to have to pay for that shit down the road, and then you're going to get blamed for it. So why not do it right the first time? We could use the fucking military and the Army Corps of Engineers to build houses. We could do that. Cost half as much as sending it over to the private sector. No. Let's not do that. Let's build some houses using the private sector. That way it has to be done for profit. And that way, most of the structures that they build are high rent, high price condos for wealthy people. And we'll build a back door so a handful of poor people can live in the basement of that building. Sounds like a great idea. NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard. I don't want to know your ideology because you can't build anything. It does not matter. Yes, it does matter. It does. Jesus Christ, man. I just gave you 17 reasons why it matters. Obama has spoken selectively twice. I've heard Obama in the last 6 months. 2 times from the most popular president the Democrats have had since JFK. Spoken selectively since Trump's return to power in January, he has criticized the president's tariff policies and warned the White House was infringing on Americans' rights. Last month, Obama warned the country was dangerously close to a more autocratic government. Dog, we're not close. We're there. I mean, I know that you're, what are you out there gardening in Martha's Vineyard or something? You're hanging out with all the rich people. You don't see it anymore. Dude, we are fucking there. Where are you at, man? Where are you? At the closed press fundraiser on Friday, the former president said that he has not been surprised by what Trump has done. Yeah, neither am I. The only thing I'm surprised by is the fecklessness of the Democratic Party and not doing anything, or that there are no more guardrails within the Republican Party. He repeated calls for institutions, including law firms, which have all turned tail and given pro bono work, law firms and universities to push back on intimidation efforts by the Trump administration. Quote, what's being asked of us is to make some effort to stand up for the things that you think are right and be willing to be a little bit uncomfortable in defense of your values and in defense of the country and in defense of the world that you want to leave your children and your grandchildren, he says. Yeah, well, make sure, if you got some pesky regulations in place, you work around that, though. And if we all do that, if we all do our jobs over the next year and a half, then I think that we can rebuild the momentum that we will position ourselves to get this country moving in the direction that it should. Barry, there are some really good Democrats right now. There are a handful, not many, but there's a handful. Why aren't you doing fundraisers with them? Why aren't you talking them up? You got Jasmine Crockett, you got Maxwell Frost, AOC, Bernie, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. They're all fighting the good fight. They're all doing all of the things that you said. They're not navel-gazing whatsoever. They're actually fighting. But you got a half a dozen that I just listed off right there. Half a dozen. Against 400, varying degrees of feckless Democrat and, capitulating Republicans. They can't fight against that tide. You have a big voice. You are a popular man. You could be out there on the campaign trail with them. You could be saying more. You could be doing more. I mean, the whole idea of there's only one president at a time, it would be uncouth of me, So I'm going to navel gaze a little bit because it's uncouth of me to get involved when there's another president ruling the country. Dude, those days are over. Did Donald Trump keep his mouth shut at all while Joe Biden was president? Every fucking day he was on television saying some shit. Every day. And guess what? He won. Wow. Go figure. A guy that stays out there in public manages to win as opposed to hiding in Martha's fucking Vineyard talking about we need to work around rules and regulations and stop navel gazing. That's your advice? Go out and do a fundraiser for a milquetoast centrist Dem? Jesus, man. God damn. I mean, look, the Democratic Party is pretty weak and pathetic, but I expected more from you. But honestly, I probably shouldn't have because you've always been a centrist Dem at heart. You've got that great voice. You know how to talk. You're charming. You're kind of cool. You go out on the basketball court. You smoke cigarettes, man. You're a cool dude. But when it comes to policy, you always give the centrist policy. When it came to the healthcare debate back in 2010, you let Joe Lieberman walk you like a dog. You gave up the public option and you went for Romney Care because that's what the ACA is Romney Care. It's health care for profit. You compromise on a compromise and you got something that was It took some years, but Donald Trump and co. tore it up. ACA's done now. I mean, people, I believe it was last year, there was a record number of like 24 million people that signed up for the ACA. Well, they're in for a rude awakening next month when their rates go up 15 to 20%. And that's just this year. Next year will be worse. So your legacy is done. All of this, yeah, I don't want to get involved because it's not fair for me to get involved. I'm not the president anymore. Those days are over, man. The rules of decorum are done. We have a psychotic fascist in charge right now, and you're sitting here talking about, oh, we need to, buck up, get your spirits up. Come on, folks. Stop being so defeated and, get out there and get some donations. Maybe if you actually did something, maybe if you told your people that you were going to do some things, give them something tangible to get excited about, as opposed to, listen, folks, I know that you don't like Donald Trump. I get it. I don't like him either. But look, when the time comes, make sure you vote for us because we're not going to do anything, but at least we're not fascists. That does not work anymore. You need people to actually push a democratic policy agenda. You need people like Mom Donnie. You need people like AOC fighting and pushing their policy. That's the only thing that's going to get the base excited. Is there a possibility that in 2026 you might maybe possibly eke out a win and win back the House? Maybe. Yeah, that's a possibility. But you could be putting up fucking FDR type numbers if you actually gave the people something to vote for as opposed to something to vote against. Anyway, God damn it, man. Barack Obama, he's got all this power and he never uses it. It's depressing. It's fucking depressing. He's just sitting around on his hands just like anybody else. He comes out every once in a while and he does a little fundraiser for a milquetoast centrist. And then he goes back in his hole in Martha's Vineyard and you don't hear from him for a few more months. What good is having all of that power and sway when you don't ever use it? Anyway, Barack Obama, goddamn, man, do better. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like and subscribe. Keep rocking.